The afternoon sun peeked through the clouds as Maya Jackson stepped out of her silver Audi, handing the keys to the valet outside the Harrington Hotel. She took a deep breath, straightening the lapels of her burgundy blazer. Today mattered. After 15 years of building her reputation in the music industry, working with artists most people only dreamed of meeting, she was finally close to securing funding for her own label. "Good luck in there," said the valet, a young man with kind eyes who noticed her nervous fidgeting with her portfolio case. Maya smiled, appreciating his warmth. "Thanks. I need it." The Harrington wasn't just any hotel, it was the place where big deals happened in this city. Its marble lobby gleamed under crystal chandeliers, the air smelling faintly of expensive perfume and fresh flowers. Maya had chosen it carefully for her investor meeting, not just for the impression it would make, but because her old friend was staying here during his film shoot. As she walked across the polished floor, her heels clicking confidently, Maya felt good. Her natural hair was styled perfectly. Her outfit, tailored pants and blazer over a silk blouse, had cost more than her first month's rent at her starter apartment years ago. She belonged in spaces like this. She'd earned it. The restaurant hostess desk was empty, so Maya approached the main reception counter where a woman with pin-straight blonde hair was typing away at a computer. The name tag on her crisp uniform read Bethany. Maya waited patiently, but Bethany didn't look up, even though there was no one else around. After nearly a minute, Maya cleared her throat. "Excuse me." Bethany's eyes flicked up, then down, then up again, taking in Maya's appearance with a quick sweep that somehow managed to feel like an assessment. Her professional smile appeared, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Can I help you?" The words were right, but the tone suggested otherwise. "Yes, I have a dinner reservation at your restaurant for 6:30, the Jackson party. I wanted to check in since I'm a bit early and see if my guests have arrived." Bethany's fingers hovered over her keyboard, but she didn't type anything. Instead, she pursed her lips. "The restaurant is fully booked tonight for private events. I don't see any Jackson reservation." Maya pulled out her phone. "That's strange. I received a confirmation email yesterday." She scrolled through her inbox, finding the message quickly. "Here it is, Maya Jackson, party of 4, 6:30 p.m. Bethany barely glanced at the screen. "That must be for another date. Or perhaps another establishment. We've been fully booked for weeks." A couple walked past them toward the restaurant, and Maya noticed the woman giving the receptionist a friendly wave. The restaurant didn't look closed for private events. "Could you please check again? I specifically booked here because—" "Ma'am," Bethany cut in, her voice louder now. "As I've explained, we're fully booked. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the Downtown Grill. It's about 10 blocks south of here." The suggestion hung in the air. The Downtown Grill was a chain restaurant, nothing wrong with it, but nowhere near the caliber of the Harrington's acclaimed dining room, and nowhere near appropriate for the meeting Maya had planned. "I don't think you understand," Maya said, keeping her voice steady despite the heat rising in her cheeks. "I have investors meeting me here. This reservation was confirmed. Can I speak with your manager or the restaurant host?" Bethany's smile tightened. "The manager is in a meeting, and all our hosts are busy with our actual guests. If you insist on waiting, you can take a seat over there." She gestured to a bench near the door, far from the elegant lounge area where other visitors sat comfortably with drinks. A security guard glanced over, responding to some signal from Bethany that Maya hadn't caught. He began walking in their direction, his expression neutral but his purpose clear. Maya felt her heart pounding, that familiar feeling washing over her. The one that came whenever someone decided, based on nothing but a glance, that she didn't belong. She clutched her portfolio tighter, suddenly very aware of the text message on her phone that she hadn't yet responded to. "Already at the hotel bar. Can't wait to catch up before your big meeting. I've told you we're fully booked," Bethany said, raising her voice just enough that a couple nearby looked over. Her smile remained fixed in place, but her eyes had turned cold. "There's nothing I can do." Maya took a steadying breath. She'd been in situations like this before. Too many to count, but it never got easier. She tapped her phone screen and turned it to face Bethany. "Here's the confirmation email," Maya said, keeping her voice level. "It has today's date, the time, and even the table number." I received it yesterday after speaking with the restaurant manager, Mr. Chen. Bethany barely glanced at the screen before shaking her head. That must be for another hotel. We don't have a Mr. Chen who works here. A man in a suit walked past them and greeted Bethany by name before heading to the restaurant without any reservation check. Maya noticed he was handed a menu immediately. The restaurant was clearly open, with several empty tables visible from where she stood. "Look," Maya said, pulling out her business card. "I'm meeting with investors about a major deal. They're expecting to meet me here. Can you please check the reservation under Jackson Associates?" Bethany took the card between two fingers like it might be contaminated. She gave it a dismissive glance before sliding it back across the counter. "I'm sorry, but our system is very clear. Perhaps you made the reservation for next week, or maybe another location. These kinds of mix-ups happen all the time," she added with a smile that suggested Maya was somehow confused about her own plans. People were staring now. A small group waiting in the lounge watched the exchange with curious eyes. Maya felt her skin grow hot with embarrassment, but she kept her composure. This meeting was too important to walk away from. "May I speak with a manager, please?" Maya asked, her professional tone never wavering despite her racing heart. Bethany sighed loudly, making a show of her inconvenience. "The manager is very busy with important guests right now. If you'd like to leave your information, someone can call you tomorrow about future reservations." "I don't need future reservations. I need the one I already confirmed for today," Maya insisted, pulling out another piece of evidence, her calendar invitation showing the details of the meeting, including Mr. Chen's contact information. "Maybe you should try the cafe down the street," Bethany suggested, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "They take walk-ins, and their prices are more reasonable." She emphasized the last word while glancing at Maya's designer bag, as if suggesting that it must be fake. The security guard who had been hovering nearby now approached. He was tall with broad shoulders, his uniform pressed and official-looking. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, directing the question to Bethany rather than Maya. "This woman insists she has a reservation, but she's not in our system," Bethany explained with an exaggerated sigh. "I've suggested alternatives, but she's becoming disruptive." "Disruptive?" Maya echoed in disbelief. She hadn't raised her voice once. "I'm simply trying to check in for my confirmed reservation." The security guard turned to Maya, his expression unreadable. "Ma'am, if you don't have a reservation, I'll have to ask you to move away from the desk so other guests can be helped." Maya noticed a couple of hotel staff watching from across the lobby, whispering to each other. A deep sense of humiliation washed over her, the kind that felt familiar but never hurt any less. She was being treated like an intruder, someone who didn't belong, despite her success, her credentials, and even written proof of her reservation. "I have investors arriving any minute," Maya explained to the guard, trying one more time. "They're expecting to meet me here. Can someone please just call Mr. Chen?" Bethany cut in before the guard could respond. "We've already explained there's no Mr. Chen here. Now, if you don't leave the desk area, we'll have to escort you out of the hotel entirely." The guard stepped closer, his hand moving to his radio. Maya felt her phone buzz in her hand, a text message. Looking down, she saw it was from Vin. "Where are you?" "Been waiting in the lounge for 15 minutes. Got us the good booth in the back." Maya looked up toward the restaurant entrance, her embarrassment now mixed with a flicker of something else. The knowledge that someone was waiting for her, someone whose presence might change everything about this situation. What Bethany and the security guard didn't know, couldn't have known, was exactly who Maya Jackson really was in the entertainment world. Behind the reception desk hung a large movie poster. The action film had broken box office records last summer, and its soundtrack had won 3 major awards. Maya had produced that soundtrack. Her name appeared in the credits that millions had watched scroll by, though most wouldn't recognize her face. As the security guard stepped closer, Maya glanced at her watch. She was supposed to meet Vin 15 minutes ago, before her investors arrived. They had been friends for years, ever since she produced the music for his breakthrough film. 3 movies later, they had developed the kind of friendship that felt like family. Her phone buzzed again in her hand. Another text from Vin, starting to worry. "Everything okay? Should I order your usual?" Maya looked toward the hotel bar, partially visible through an archway across the lobby. She couldn't see him from this angle, but knowing he was there gave her strength. She wasn't alone in this place, though right now she certainly felt that way. "Ma'am, I need you to step aside," the security guard said, his tone professional but firm. A well-dressed older woman walked up to the desk just then. Bethany's entire demeanor changed instantly. Her back straightened, her smile warmed, her eyes lit up with recognition. "Mrs. Patterson, how lovely to see you again. Your usual suite is ready whenever you'd like to check in." Maya watched the interaction with a mixture of frustration and sad familiarity. She'd seen this movie before, lived it countless times. The rules always seemed different depending on who was asking. She decided to try one more approach. "Bethany," she said calmly, "I understand you're busy. But I'm actually here to meet someone who's already in your restaurant. If you could just call over to the bar and ask for—" "Ma'am," Bethany cut her off sharply, "I've told you repeatedly that we can't help you. Now please step aside for our registered guests." The security guard placed his hand gently but firmly on Maya's elbow, a clear signal that her time was up. But just as he did, Maya's phone rang. The screen lit up with Vin's name and photo, a silly selfie they'd taken together on set last year, both wearing headphones in the sound booth. She answered it on speaker. "Hey, I'm in the lobby." "Where have you been?" Vin's deep, instantly recognizable voice boomed through the phone speaker. "I've been waiting. The big meeting's in an hour, right? I wanted to catch up before those investors show up." The security guard's hand dropped away from Maya's arm. Something in his expression shifted as he recognized the voice coming from the phone. "I'm having some trouble with my reservation," Maya explained, keeping her voice even despite the emotions swirling inside her. "The receptionist doesn't seem to have a record of it." There was a pause on the other end. "What?" "Chen confirmed it himself when I mentioned I'd be meeting you there." Another pause. "Stay put. I'm coming to the lobby." Bethany's eyes had widened during the phone conversation. She wasn't certain who had been on the other end of that call, but something about the man's confident, familiar tone made her nervous. "Who was that?" she asked, her voice losing some of its previous authority. Maya simply put her phone back in her purse, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. "A friend." The security guard stepped back slightly, suddenly less certain about the situation. He'd heard that voice before. Everyone had heard that voice before, though he couldn't quite place it. Maya turned toward the restaurant entrance just as a tall, broad-shouldered man with a distinctive bald head appeared in the archway, scanning the lobby. His presence commanded attention without him saying a word. A few guests nearby did double takes, smartphones appearing in hands. Vin Diesel spotted Maya standing by the reception desk, the security guard hovering nearby. His usually warm expression hardened as he took in the scene. Bethany's jaw dropped open slightly as she recognized him. This wasn't just any hotel guest. This was a Hollywood star whose films had grossed billions worldwide. And he was walking straight toward Maya Jackson with recognition and concern in his eyes. "Maya," he called out, his deep voice carrying across the lobby. "There you are." Bethany frantically began typing on her keyboard, her fingers suddenly clumsy with panic. Her earlier confidence evaporated as she watched one of the most famous men in the world embrace the woman she had just been trying to remove from the hotel. Vin Diesel moved through the lobby with purpose, his casual outfit of a black t-shirt and jeans doing nothing to hide his famous build. Guests turned to watch him, some whispering behind their hands, others openly taking photos with their phones. But Vin's attention was fully focused on Maya. "I was getting worried," he said as he reached her, his deep voice genuine with concern. He gave her a warm hug, the kind shared between old friends who trust each other completely. "You're never late." Maya returned the hug, feeling some of the tension leave her body. "Got held up at the desk here," she said quietly. Vin stepped back, keeping one hand on her shoulder as he looked at her face. Years of acting had made him good at reading people, and he could tell something was wrong. Maya's professional smile was in place, but her eyes told a different story. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing toward Bethany and the security guard. The guard had taken several steps back, his earlier confidence replaced with uncertainty. Bethany was still behind the desk, but her entire posture had changed. She stood frozen, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. There seems to be a problem with my dinner reservation, Maya explained calmly. I've been told there's no record of it, despite my confirmation email. Vin turned toward Bethany, his expression neutral but somehow still intimidating. There must be some mistake, he said. I was there when Maya made this reservation. Mr. Chen personally confirmed it. Bethany's face had gone pale. Mr. Chen, she repeated weakly. The restaurant manager, Vin said. I've known him for years. He always takes good care of the cast when we film in town. A small crowd had gathered at a respectful distance, hotel guests pretending to check their phones while stealing glances at the famous actor. The security guard looked like he wanted to disappear into the marble floor. There must have been a misunderstanding, Bethany stammered, suddenly typing furiously on her keyboard. Let me check the system again. Maya exchanged a knowing look with Vin. They'd both been in the industry long enough to recognize what was happening. The rules had suddenly changed, not because Maya deserved better treatment, but because of who she knew. That's strange, Bethany said with a nervous laugh that sounded nothing like her earlier confident tone. The reservation just appeared in the system. Jackson party for 4 at 6:30. She looked up with a forced smile. I don't know how I missed it before. The security guard had backed away completely now, pretending to be occupied with something across the lobby. Vin didn't smile back at Bethany. Instead, he turned to Maya. You okay? He asked quietly. Maya nodded, her dignity intact despite the frustration simmering beneath the surface. I'm good. Should we head in? I got us the corner booth. Vin gestured toward the restaurant. Then he paused, turning back to face Bethany. My friend is an award-winning music producer. She's worked on the soundtracks for some of Hollywood's biggest films, including mine. His voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath the words. She deserves to be treated with respect, confirmation email or not. Bethany nodded quickly, her earlier superiority completely gone. Of course, Mr. Diesel. I'm so sorry for the confusion. Other hotel staff had appeared, alerted by the commotion, or more likely, by Vin's presence. A man in a tailored suit hurried over, his name tag identifying him as the hotel manager. Mr. Diesel, Ms. Jackson, is everything all right here? He asked, looking between them and a very uncomfortable Bethany. Vin placed a hand gently on Maya's back, a silent show of support. The gesture said clearly, this is your call. Maya considered her options. She could let it go, pretend everything was fine, as she'd done so many times before when faced with this kind of treatment. Or she could speak up, knowing that with Vin beside her, people would actually listen this time. The investors would be arriving soon. She needed to focus on her pitch, on securing funding for her label. Making a scene wasn't her style, but neither was letting injustice slide when she had the chance to address it. Actually, Maya said, her voice clear and confident, there is something we need to discuss. She looked directly at the manager. And I think it's a conversation your staff might benefit from hearing. The manager nodded seriously, sensing the importance of the moment. Of course. Would you prefer to speak in my office? Maya glanced at Bethany, whose face now showed the first hints of genuine remorse as the reality of her actions began to sink in. No, Maya decided. I think right here is perfect. The hotel lobby had grown quiet. Guests pretended not to stare, but everyone was watching. The manager stood with perfect posture, his expression professionally concerned. I'd like to understand exactly what happened here, he said, looking between Maya and Bethany. Vin could have taken over the conversation. His fame gave him that power. But he stayed quiet, standing supportively beside Maya. This was her moment to speak. I arrived for a confirmed dinner reservation, Maya explained calmly. I have the email right here. But I was told repeatedly that no such reservation existed. When I showed proof, I was suggested to go somewhere else, somewhere more suitable. The manager's expression tightened. I see. The security guard was called. Maya continued, gesturing toward the man who now looked thoroughly uncomfortable, all while I remained perfectly calm and professional. Bethany jumped in, her words tumbling out nervously. There was a system error. The reservation wasn't showing up in my computer. I was just following protocol for when people don't have reservations. Vin cleared his throat. Is your protocol to suggest that well-dressed guests go to cheaper restaurants without checking thoroughly? Or is that a special service you provide to certain customers only? His question hung in the air. He hadn't raised his voice or made any accusation directly, but everyone understood what he was asking. Bethany's face flushed red. "I would never," she began, then stopped. "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen?" the manager asked, his tone making it clear he expected a real answer. Bethany looked at Maya, then at the floor. For the first time, she seemed to be truly seeing the situation from a different perspective. I might have made some assumptions," she admitted quietly. The manager nodded. "Ms. Jackson, Mr. Diesel, I want to personally apologize for this situation. This is not how we treat our guests, any of our guests." "I appreciate that," Maya said. "But I'm not looking for special treatment because my friend is famous." She gestured toward Vin. "I'm concerned about how many others have been treated this way who didn't happen to know someone famous." The manager straightened his tie, clearly uncomfortable but listening. "That's a fair concern." Vin spoke up. "Look, we're not here to get anyone fired. That doesn't solve the real problem." Several hotel staff had gathered nearby, listening attentively. The moment felt important, like something that mattered beyond just one bad experience. "The real problem," Maya said, "is that when I walked in here today, judgments were made about me based solely on how I look. Not on my reservation, not on my accomplishments, not on anything that actually matters." Bethany looked up, her eyes showing the first signs of genuine understanding. "I'm truly sorry," she said, and for the first time, it sounded sincere. "I didn't realize what I was doing." "That's actually the point," Maya replied, not unkindly. "Most people don't realize. It happens in small ways every day. The extra ID check. The table near the kitchen instead of the window. The assumption that I can't afford something or don't belong somewhere." The manager looked thoughtful, taking in her words. "What would you suggest we do differently, Ms. Jackson?" It was a genuine question, one that acknowledged her expertise rather than dismissing her experience. Maya considered for a moment. Training is a start, not just a one-time seminar, but ongoing conversations about recognizing unconscious bias, clear protocols that are applied equally to everyone, and consequences when they're not. Vin nodded in agreement, and maybe hiring staff that actually reflects the diversity of your guests. The manager looked around at his predominantly white staff and nodded slowly. "Those are excellent suggestions." "I'd be happy to help," Maya offered. "My production company actually works with a consultant who specializes in this area." A small smile appeared on the manager's face, one of genuine interest rather than the practiced hospitality smile. "I would welcome that conversation." Bethany stepped forward hesitantly. "Ms. Jackson, I truly am sorry. I'd like to learn how to do better." Maya studied her face, seeing the sincerity there. "That's all any of us can do," she said. "Recognize when we've made a mistake and commit to doing better next time." The tension in the lobby had shifted to something different, not completely comfortable, but more honest. Change always felt a bit uncomfortable at first. "Now," Vin said, checking his watch, "I believe we have some investors to impress. Shall we?" Maya nodded, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. As they turned toward the restaurant, the manager called after them. "Ms. Jackson, your reservation has been upgraded to our private dining room. At no additional charge, of course." Maya and Vin exchanged a knowing look. It was a nice gesture, but they both understood real change would take more than one upgraded dinner reservation. 3 days after the incident, Maya received an email from the Harrington Hotel. She was sitting in her studio, reviewing tracks for an upcoming film when her phone buzzed with a notification. She almost ignored it. She'd been working for hours and was in the zone, but something made her pick up the phone. The email was from the hotel manager, Mr. Wilson. It wasn't the standard corporate apology she'd expected, something generic with a free night's stay attached to make the problem go away. This was different. "Ms. Jackson," it read, "after much reflection on our conversation, I wanted to update you on the changes we're implementing at the Harrington. Your experience has opened our eyes to issues we should have addressed long ago." Maya set down her headphones and gave the email her full attention. The manager explained that rather than simply disciplining Bethany, the hotel had decided to use the incident as a starting point for real change. As she finished reading, her phone rang. It was Vin. "Have you seen it?" he asked when she picked up, not bothering with hello. "The email?" Just reading it now, Maya replied, scrolling through the rest of the message. Seems like they're taking this seriously. Not just the email, Vin said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. Check your texts. Maya pulled the phone from her ear and saw she had a message from him, a link to the Harrington Hotel's social media page. She clicked it while putting Vin on speaker. The hotel had posted an announcement about their new diversity training program and inclusion initiative. It didn't mention Maya or the incident specifically, but the timing made it clear what had inspired the change. Wow, Maya said, genuinely surprised. Most places would have just swept this under the rug. Keep reading, Vin urged. As Maya scrolled down, she saw that the hotel was looking for consultants to help develop their new training program. At the bottom of the post was a tag to her production company's page. They didn't have to do that, she said quietly. No, they didn't, Vin agreed. But it's the right thing to do. Your company already does amazing work with diversity in the music industry. Why not hotels too? Maya leaned back in her chair, thinking about the possibilities. Her company had started a mentorship program for young musicians from underrepresented backgrounds, but they'd never worked with the hospitality industry before. You think we should do it? She asked. I think you should consider it, Vin replied. Not because you owe them anything, you don't, but because it's a chance to create real change. Maya smiled. This was why they'd remained friends for so long. Vin always saw opportunities where others saw only problems. The next morning, Maya walked into the Harrington Hotel for a meeting with Mr. Wilson. This time, her entrance was very different. A young woman at the front desk greeted her warmly and professionally. There was no sign of Bethany. Ms. Jackson, welcome back, Mr. Wilson said, emerging from his office to greet her personally. I appreciate you considering our proposal. They settled in the hotel's conference room, and Maya was surprised to see Bethany slip in quietly and take a seat at the back. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Wilson explained, noticing Maya's glance. Bethany asked to be part of this meeting. Maya nodded, curious but willing to listen. Before we begin, Bethany said, her voice much softer than it had been days ago, I wanted to apologize again, properly this time. She looked directly at Maya, no longer avoiding eye contact. What I did was wrong. I've been doing a lot of thinking about why I acted that way, and I want to be better. The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable. Maya could see the genuine regret in the woman's eyes. That's why we're all here, Maya replied. To be better. Mr. Wilson nodded approvingly and opened a folder in front of him. We've drafted a preliminary plan for staff training. We'd like your input. As they discussed the details, Maya realized something important was happening. This wasn't just about one bad experience or one apologetic hotel. It was about creating a template that could be replicated elsewhere. I have some thoughts, she said, pulling out her tablet. But first, I'd like to hear from Bethany. What do you think would have helped you recognize your bias in that moment? Bethany looked surprised to be asked, but she considered the question carefully. I needed someone to hold up a mirror, she said finally, to help me see what I wasn't seeing about myself. Maya nodded. That's exactly where we'll start. 6 months passed quickly. Maya's music production company had finished work on 2 major film soundtracks, and her new record label had signed its first 3 artists. Life had been busy in the best possible way. As her car pulled up to the Harrington Hotel, Maya felt a flutter of nerves in her stomach. Today wasn't just any visit. She had been invited to lead the final session of the hotel's new training program. Welcome back, Ms. Jackson, said the valet, a young woman with a bright smile. Mr. Wilson mentioned you'd be coming. It's an honor to meet you. Maya thanked her and walked into the lobby. The space looked the same. Elegant marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the buzz of guests coming and going, but something felt different. The energy had shifted. At the front desk, a diverse group of staff greeted guests. Maya noticed the small pins they all wore, a simple design with the words, All welcome here, in the hotel's signature colors. Maya, a voice called from across the lobby. She turned to see Bethany walking toward her, waving. The transformation was subtle but noticeable. The same perfectly pressed uniform, the same professional appearance, but her smile now reached her eyes. Thanks for coming, Bethany said, extending her hand. Everyone's really excited about your session. 6 months ago, this same woman had tried to have her removed from the hotel. Now she was welcoming Maya as a valued collaborator. Life was strange sometimes. "How's it been going?" Maya asked as they walked toward the conference room. "Honestly, hard at first," Bethany admitted. "Looking at your own bias isn't comfortable, but necessary." She paused by a display case showing photos of the hotel's history. "I've learned so much about myself, about others. I can't change what happened that day, but I can make sure it never happens again." The conference room was filled with hotel staff, not just from the Harrington, but from other hotels in the same ownership group. Mr. Wilson stood at the front, discussing something with a tall woman Maya recognized as the regional director. "Ms. Jackson," Mr. Wilson said warmly when he spotted her. Perfect timing. He introduced her to the room, though most already knew who she was. The training program they'd developed together had made waves in the hospitality industry, with other hotel chains reaching out to implement similar initiatives. As Maya began her presentation, she noticed a familiar face slip quietly into the back of the room. Vin gave her a thumbs up and found a seat without drawing attention to himself, well, as much as someone of his celebrity status could manage. 6 months ago, I walked into this hotel and was judged not by my reservation, my achievements, or my character, but by assumptions based on my appearance, Maya began. Today, I want to talk about what happens after that moment of recognition, when we realize we've been wrong and decide to do better. For the next hour, Maya led the group through exercises designed to recognize bias in everyday interactions. They role-played scenarios, discussed challenging situations, and shared personal experiences. The level of honesty in the room was striking. During a short break, Vin approached her. "You're a natural teacher," he said. "This is going to help a lot of people." "It's a start," Maya replied, "one hotel at a time." They were interrupted by Mr. Wilson, who was beaming with pride. "Maya, I wanted you to be the first to know. The corporate office has approved our proposal. The training program is going nationwide next month." Maya's eyes widened. "All of your hotels?" "All 217, he confirmed. "And they're creating a new position to oversee implementation. We'd like to offer it to Bethany." Across the room, Bethany was deep in conversation with a young staff member, patiently explaining something. The change in her was remarkable, from someone who defended her biases to someone committed to helping others recognize their own. "Perfect choice," Maya said with a genuine smile. When the session ended, Maya and Vin headed to the hotel restaurant, the same one she'd initially been denied entry to. As they settled into their table, Maya noticed little changes: the diverse staff, the more varied artwork on the walls, the sense of true welcome that greeted every guest who entered. "What are you thinking?" Vin asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. "That sometimes," Maya said, "the worst moments can lead to the best changes." She glanced around the restaurant, now filled with guests from all walks of life, being served with equal respect and attention. "One interaction can't fix everything," she continued, "but it can start a conversation, and conversations, if we're brave enough to have them, can change the world." Vin raised his glass. "To changing the world, one uncomfortable conversation at a time." Maya smiled and raised her glass to meet his. "And to friends who stand beside us while we do it."